All right, so this is a super exciting day for me because I have literally spent months and probably hundreds of hours, I didn't keep track, making this. And if you follow me, you've probably seen a couple other gift boxes in the last little bit. And they were really all side products of this project. And I stumbled across a YouTube video 6 months ago about a guy doing sequential discovery puzzles. And I'm like, that's a thing? I need to make one of those. So here it is. I absolutely love it. It was just a work of passion, and I think it's fantastic. I've only had a handful of people do it so far, and everybody has loved it. Probably in the world of SD puzzles, it's probably not like super high, but for the people around my home, it was pretty challenging. Nobody's finished it yet without some clues. And to be fair, some of the earlier iterations of it had some problems with them that made it easier for them. I fixed all of those. And so now it's just a pretty challenging puzzle. And the idea is, I'm sure you know if you're watching this video already, sequential discovery puzzle. Everything you need to open this puzzle is right here. You don't use anything else. And at all times, there's a way forward. You just need to figure out what it is. Now, I'm not going to, I don't think, show you how to solve this on this video. This video is for those of you who have downloaded my model and want to build it. And I'm going to show you how to build it. And of course, that's going to give you a lot of insight into how to solve it. So if you're planning to challenge yourself with this puzzle, then don't watch this video because it's going to give you a little bit of insight and take away some of the fun of figuring out what went on in my brain to create this. So yeah, so turn off if you're that person, and if you've got this and you want to see how to put it together. I was trying to like create a web page or something to document how to build it, but so far it's been I perceive it as too much work because I've put tons of time just into documentation of this. So the video is it for now. If I get inspired and I make a web page, you'll find it posted at some point. But for now, this is it. And so that's the puzzle finished. Super important to note, a lot of sequential discovery puzzles are kind of like a closed thing. This is actually an open thing. You can, it's got a void inside that you can put a prize in, so for whoever's doing it. And I'm going to explain later on, or at some point, I've made a master key set. So once you've got this built, you can actually, with the master key, you can open the door on the bottom, and inside is the void that you would put a prize in. So at the last minute, you can put a bag of candy or a gift certificate or whatever you want inside there and lock it up. Because without the master key, you actually have to disassemble the whole model in order to get the keys out that allow you to open it. So that's what this is about. And so this is a master set of, or I call them the maker's keys. So they're kind of all abbreviated versions of the keys that are built into the puzzle. And another thing, I actually have also made this spin box, and it fits inside the puzzle. So I'm going to redo this shortly, and at some point you can download this. So if you want another layer of fun to this puzzle when you're giving it to somebody, we're going to put a spin box inside. So once they finally open this, then they still have to open up the centrifugally unlocked box. So this one you spin to unlock it, and you've probably seen that already, but you spin it to unlock it, and it'll frustrate a lot of people because most people's brains, if you're not a puzzler, you don't even think about that as a way to open it. So you can have a lot more fun by adding another barrier once the thing's built. Anyways, with all that said, I'm gonna put this thing together now. I haven't really thought through the sequence of events of this, so I'm gonna do that as we go. These are all the parts. I think there's 28 parts that go in to make the puzzle, and it seems to be logical to start with just get the main box built. The main box doesn't have a lot of parts that are fixed into it, but there are a couple. First are ones that you might have seen in my other puzzles, these fixed ribbons that go on the side. You just hook in the bottom. There's like a a hook on the bottom, hook that in, and before you slide it all the way up, push it down. These kind of tabs are locking in here, and then there's a barb on it. So once it goes in, it's designed not to come out. So you go in and then push it up. Now it's very tight because you've got a flex here. So I've just been using like something heavy, like a spanner or anything with a little bit of mass, and just hold where the barb is and smack it. And now that's locked in. And then the same thing on the other side. You can just do it twice. Make sure the tabs are in, and then you just give it a snap. So that's the fixed ribbons, and those are not part of the puzzle. Of course, people doing the puzzle, they'll be like, does this come off? Does this come off? And so if people take something off, and I've let people do that where they're borderline breaking this thing just to try and figure out if something's removable or not. So far, it's survived that. So I think it's pretty durable, but if people play around with things, so be it. You'll just have to reprint it if they break it, which is a good point. The puzzle is completely reusable. You can use it over and over and over again. Slide ribbons. So on the opposite sides, you'll notice a few different markings on it. Is the sliding ribbon, and this is part of one of the lock systems. So you do the exact same thing, put the bottom in first, and then make sure the tabs are in, and then this one should slide up. When you first put it together, make sure you can do this, because everything should be fairly easy to move. And if you have some binding because you got some problems with your print, then make sure those are addressed here, because when the puzzle doer is doing it, that should be able to move fairly easily. And then the exact same thing on the other side. So there's two of those, and they should just move up and down. They've got a detent in it, so it does click into place. And then let's go to the top of this thing now. So this is kind of like a false top to the whole puzzle. So this snaps in on the top, and there's two different shapes in the corners. So the two opposite corners are identical, and you'll see a shape that matches the top here and a shape that matches the top there. Once it's aligned, it's a snap fit in, and this is not intended to be removed by the puzzle doer. It's in a way that shouldn't be removable for them. It's not the entry. But if you find that somebody's, prying on it and getting it out, glue it. I haven't had to do that. I've had no trouble with anybody even attempting to get that out because it doesn't look very inviting. But you could put a bead of glue on that and just seal it in so it's permanently in. So that's the top. And then on the bottom, actually still while we're on the top, you can slide in the keys. Now there's two key halves, and a good time to comment on colors and material. I've printed everything out of PLA using a fairly substantial print profile, 4 walls, 5 top and bottom, 40% cubic infill, so that everything should be fairly strong. And then I've chosen colors somewhat strategically, but you can do whatever you want. The box parts I've done all in white just because it looks like a classic present. The ribbons I've done all in a blue-green silk. And then all the accent parts inside I've either done in red, as you can see here, or a couple of gray pieces just to give some contrast. But the colors are not material to the puzzle solution, but they can be interesting because these key halves get pushed in here and they're now kind of locked in. They're not supposed to be removable without, I'm just going to make sure they go down all the way. They're not supposed to be removable from the top, so they're kind of locked in, but you want the puzzle doer to see that they're there, because that's kind of, this inquisition of what do I have to do next. So they're supposed to see that those are there. So those are in. Then flip the puzzle over, and on the opposite corners of where those keys went, these two L keys go into the bottom. They're almost identical. They're not identical. The slots are offset here, which means you can only use them in one slot in particular. But the easy way to figure out which one's which is one's got this notch. And so try to insert the one without the notch first, because it'll only go in one of the holes. This one could go in either of the holes. So when I try and push that one in here, it shouldn't sit down all the way. And you can see that it's not seated. So that one does not belong there. And that tells me it goes over on this side. So that goes in here. And that means the other one goes over here. And just as a reminder, those are opposite to where the keys were on the other side. So that's the bottom kind of ready. So we can set that aside. Probably the next thing to do is the top. The top prints like this. This piece of print support you can discard. It doesn't even stick in. As soon as you pull it off, it's probably going to stay with the build plate. So you can discard that. And then the next thing is the ribbons on here. The ribbons, there's one fixed ribbon. So this is the fixed ribbon. And it can only go on one way because there's a little raised piece here. So it's hard probably to see in the video, but you'll see it when you're building it. You just flex the end over, snap the other end over. The middle's still going to be raised because there's some barbs, but if you press it, you'll hear it snap in, and that's got some barbs on it there, which are preventing this from coming off. So that's now fixed in place. These ribbons are identical. There's two of them, go on each side, and they slide in like this. But they can't, you can't finish assembling this until we finish the top. So I'm just going to leave them sitting like that for now. These are gravity locks. You just press one into each of the two corners that have a hole for them here. And they should rattle around because those are driven by gravity. So those just float around like that. So we can set that aside for a few minutes. The next thing to do is probably the rest of the inside of the top. So I'm going to bring these parts over. There's support in this part too. These two little kind of crescents here, those are actually support. So you can just push them down and then pop them out. Those are designed just to keep these slots here super clean. Once you've got the support out, these two sprung latches, I call them, you just drop them in like at this angle. So you can see it's up against here. The latch is fully removed from the slot, and then rotate it around until you can hook the back of the spring onto the post here. And then you do that again for the other side. So drop it in, fully rotated. Might help to be off the counter. So like that. So now you can see it's in its spot, but I have to hold it down because it's flexed here. So just hold it down, rotate it around until this is on the post. So now these two sprung latches are independent of one another. And then the only thing left to do there then is snap in this part. And again, it's a friction fit. It's not meant to be removed, but I did have somebody pull it out. And the reason they pulled it out is because there's a key kind of hidden here. It's meant to be findable, but it's print in place on this part, so it's exact same color as this. You could print them separately or print two and swap the colors if you want to, but I don't think you need to. People generally will find this key, but once you pull it out, so you can see, snap it out. So there's the key. One person put their finger in here and yanked this out and then pulled out all these latches, and that was fine. They didn't break it. It didn't cause any trouble. So it just sent them on a kind of a wild goose chase, if you will. So once that's all snapped in, this part now sits on there. And because these latches, the way they rotate, you can't get this down until you turn these, which is part of the puzzle solution. So those two halves that I put on here, they're your keys for that. So you put these in, bring them together, and then let go, and this should drop down, and you can see the tab of the red latch sticking out on either side. So that is done. That's now sitting there. Now we can assemble the top onto the puzzle. To do that, you need to push these two slides down. So you see they're protruding. So they need to be below the height of the puzzle, or the height of the box here. Then this can go on. But a couple of things about how this goes on. It has to be done upside down because there's gravity latches. So you do it upside down. And there's some protrusions here that mate with the top of the box. And they're opposite in corners. So two of them are big, two of them are small. And so you have to put this big one into the big slot. Now, there's no real super obvious way to do that, but you can try it because it'll only go on one way. So that's the correct, no, that's the wrong way there, it looks like. Actually, I think I had the right way, but I think I had the right way, but these side ribbons had drifted down. So you have to make sure those stay out of your way. And then you can see how I can turn it. If you attempt to do it the wrong way, they just won't lock. You can't get them to go together. So you kind of know when you've got them the right way. So just rotate that around until you can snap that aligned. Now, as soon as I flip this over, it's locked because of the gravity latches. And then secondary to that is these side latches. So this slides up, and now that's also interfering with the rotation of the lid. So if both those are slid up, you can't rotate the lid, and you can't pull those down until these are removed. So that's why I said earlier we can't finish that, but now we can. So press these two sliding ribbons in, and then the cap goes on. And I recently discovered a little nuance to this. When you put the cap on, there's a hole, which we use for the key later. The holes that go right through the cap. Put them so that that's at 45 degrees offset from either of the ribbons. You don't have to do that, but if you don't do that, it's possible to get them aligned with the tabs on here and kind of get in a no man's zone. So once you got it started, you should be able to just snap that down. Nope. Okay, you're going to do this too, so I might as well explain what happened there. The cap did not go down all the way, and it reminded me that there's a piece of support in here that has to be removed. So just take this is the inside of the cap is shorter than the outside, so when it prints, it needs a little ring of support in there, and that's what this is. And it goes down about 4 millimeters. So just put a flat blade of any kind in there, like a screwdriver, and you should be able to pop out this little ring of support. And that's what was stopping my cap from going all the way down. And I've done that multiple times, so I'm sure others will do that, forgetting to put the cap, forgetting to take that support out. So now you go back, make sure the holes are offset, and you can literally just pound that down. And you can see it's seated right down on the ribbons, and it should spin freely. Okay, so the idea is that once that's on, it spins, it's holding these, you're locked in place. Okay, so that's the top finished. And only one thing left to do now, which is the bottom. And the bottom is pretty straightforward as well. A couple of small things. One is that there's a small piece of support that prints inside the keyhole. I've lost it already because it's popped out. But basically inside the keyhole, you'll see a small piece of support. Just push that out. And that's holding up some of the little overhangs under the key. The key slot required quite a bit of precision. And then also in this base piece, you'll see the letter A, 2 A's and 2 B's opposite each other. Those correspond to the A's and B's on these. There's 2 different versions. So this is the B, this is the A. The A's go with the A's. So here's an A, and it matches up with that A. The easiest way to put these in is to start with the spring just at this wall, and then just gently send it down. Once you've got it down on the post, then you can just lift up this spring. It's hard to see and show you and do at the same time. And then, so that's an A. So then for a B goes here, same thing. So that goes, so then again, just bring the spring over. And these should rotate fairly easily. Again here. And then the spring tab over is a B to a B. And then the last one's another A. And again, that one went in nicely. So those are all the latches. Then there's 2 different sprockets. Both of them have markings on them. You'll see a dash and a diamond on both sides. Those dashes and diamonds match with the diamond and dash here. So when you drop them into place, not only should the diamond and dash be up so you can see it, but they should be aligned with the ones there. So you drop it in. If we had put that piece in first, this would have been easier. So you can drop that sprocket in first if you want, but if you don't drop it in first, you have to just lift up these latches and rotate that so that the diamond and the dash align with these 2 here. And at the same time, very important, the latch is fully out. So now when I spin that, those should come back in. And then the second one, exact same, but this one's easier. You just make sure the diamond's aligned. The diamond and diamond are aligned with the dash and the dash. Like that. And they should be perfectly aligned, not off by one. And so now when the lock is turned, all of the latches will move. So that's it. That's built. This piece just snaps on. And again, not intended to be removed as part of the puzzle. And that's not generally a problem, because by the time you get this out, you're into the heart of the puzzle. So now this just drops in. It can go in any angle. It doesn't matter. All these latch tabs just go into the frame of the box. So just take the master key and gently, without inserting too far, so rotate the lock and bring the key out. So now that base is locked in and the puzzle is complete. One thing to note is that this master key, or the maker's master key, is quite delicate, because I made it quite thin to fit on this little assembly here. So just be gentle, but it's also a good reminder that once you've got the puzzle built, you want to make sure everything's moving fairly smoothly, so that the person doing the puzzle doesn't get held up by something they shouldn't be held up by. And so I apologize if you have to do any like minor, cleanup. I tried to make the model print as clean as possible, but it'll be like first layer squish and little like burrs and things that might just hang it up. The lock's quite precise, and intentionally quite precise, which I don't want to explain why here, but when you do the model, you'll understand, or when you see my instructions. So you can see that works quite well, but it is quite delicate. So that's that. And I mentioned earlier, the spin box can go inside there. I'll just show you that. I'm going to make it a little taller so it fills the space. You can get as big an object inside there. So after they finish the first puzzle, you still have to get through that. But that's not part of this. I'll post that separately. And I want to make a few changes to it. But anyways, I feel like I made that way more challenging as instructions than it needed to be. But it is relatively complex. And once it's done, it's awesome. Like, I've got a couple of these sitting around the house, and if somebody comes over, I can just take the master key, open it up, throw in a bag of candy or something. It's nice that there's something in there when they get to the end, because then they know it's the end. I've had a few people get the top off and go, "Oh, that wasn't so hard." And I go, "You're not there yet." So it's good. And I've got some more people I'm going to do it with for the next couple of days, so I'll get a lot more sort of experience with it. My posting on Thangs, I will update with revision notes. So if you have downloaded this and you're having any trouble, send me a message. But based on feedback and my experience, I'll also make updates to try and keep it as slick as possible. And I'll post them in there so you can see if I've fixed something or adjusted something. But I've built quite a few of these already. I've been testing people with it for about a month now. I think it's a pretty mature design in that sense. It's not a first print, but it is interesting. I print on a lot of different printers, and every once in a while you'll get a little different fit or tolerance on things. So I do know that everybody's going to have their own experience with it, but I hope it's as straightforward as possible for you, and I hope you have a lot of fun with it. I have. It's been awesome. I think I'll do some more, but it's such a massive investment of time. Like, I won't be doing one soon, but I'll be doing more. So anyways, hope you enjoy it, and love some feedback. Thank you.